Hiya! I hope you're having a wonderful week. Today's video is going to be a pretty chill one, so grab some paints and some tea, and let's do some art. I'm going to be painting the last two scenes of the cottage theme from Disney's Beauty and the Beast and Snow White. I know I did several Disney princess cottages for this theme, but honestly, they're just too iconic not to. I mean, come on, wow. So in last week's video, I mentioned that I was awaiting some sort of surprise, and it turns out that surprise was a person. But not just any person, one of my dearest friends who I hadn't seen in 3 whole years came to spend the weekend with me. We fangirled over our favorite shows, looked at art books, painted, listened to musicals, and honestly, I feel like a whole new person. This weekend was so good for my soul, truly the best surprise. So Hannah, if you're watching this, thank you, I love you, and I miss you already. Like I said, we did a lot of painting, and it was the first time in, honestly, I don't even know how long that I just got to sit and paint purely for fun. You know, not that I don't enjoy doing the scene studies and working on different series and whatnot, but anymore I feel like I just don't have time to paint simply for the fun of it. We got out our gouache, put on some tunes, pulled out our secret weapon, it's Pinterest, and painted whatever we wanted to. What a shock, 3/4 of what I ended up painting was food, but you know, it was so much fun. Also, if you're a Percy Jackson fan, which if you're not, you should be, it's freaking fantastic, check out Hannah's Etsy shop, link in the description, because she makes, hands down, the coolest Percy Jackson props and posters. Not that I'm biased or anything. So, let's chat a little bit about the cottage paintings. I think the Snow White cottage was my favorite from this theme after the Spirited Away scene. There's something about it that's just, I don't know, it's really enchanting to me. I started off with my green Prismacolor Polychromos pencil, which is, it's rapidly approaching its demise. I don't like wasting art supplies, so I use these little suckers till they're on their last limb, and then some. I figured working wet on wet for the background would probably be the best option since there's a bit of value and color variation, as well as some trees and greenery that looked pretty loose in the reference photo. This particular scene also had a kind of watercolory vibe to it, so I really thinned out my gouache for some of the layers to get a similar effect. I always try to work with larger brushes toward the beginning of a study to help me stay loose with it, but I don't know, man, I always end up pulling in those thinner brushes way too quickly. You know, a few strokes here or there, like on a tree, to get a bit of dry brush bark effect. I don't really think much about it, but I pulled them in so fast on the exterior of the cottage when I could have probably done most of it with a larger brush. Smaller brushes take longer to use, which lets my paint dry out, and then I end up mixing more paint and overshoot how much I'll need, so it just sits there and goes to waste. It's a whole cycle that I'm trying to get out of the habit of doing, but anyways. I bought some new brushes last weekend since some of mine are getting really old and frayed. Don't worry, I'm still keeping them around for dry brushing and whatnot, but I really wanted to get some better flat brushes in different sizes, as well as a new small round brush. I'm hoping that these new flat brushes will encourage me to stay looser with my paintings and not get into the details too quickly. So fun fact, I actually used to hate this movie. Please don't judge me, I do like it much better now. I always kind of just hated Snow White's voice. I don't know, it grated on my nerves, man. But I gave it a shot again a couple of years ago, and the dwarves alone honestly make it worth watching, not to mention the incredible animation. Unfortunately, because this movie was made in like the 50s, all of the screenshots I found were pretty much impossible to zoom in on without it pixelating horribly, so some of those little elements on the grass in front of the cottage, I just kind of wung it with those because I didn't really know what they were. I tried to repaint the blobs that I could see, so anyways. Doing this study reminded me how much I psych myself out painting trees. They're one of my favorite things to paint, but I definitely overthink it. I kind of want to do a little bit of plein air painting once the weather gets cooler to try to improve my tree painting skills. There's a tree out behind my house with a little birdhouse on it that I really want to paint. The birdhouse in this scene is actually one of my favorite things about it. It's such a cute little hidden detail. The piece definitely wasn't complete without the highlights on the stream. Honestly, I think those highlights bring everything together. I think a lot of people kind of skip out on the last little 5% of rendering that really brings the piece to life. Classic Disney movies though, they knew how to do that 5%. Next up is Belle's cottage from Beauty and the Beast. Now this one definitely took me out of my comfort zone with color, and it was an absolute blast. I've started finding color and light challenges to be more fun rather than daunting lately. We started off with a yellow sky, which I'm totally okay with. I love yellow. The clouds, however, they look a little rough, but we carry on. Again, I worked wet on wet on the right side background trees. There's a lot of atmospheric perspective kind of blurring and desaturating those trees, so I worked really loosely and thinly in a single layer. One of my biggest pieces of advice with gouache is don't over-render an area when it's not needed. It doesn't matter if it only took you 5 seconds to put it down. If it looks right, leave it at that. More time does not always equal better quality. I quickly put in the trees on the left, the well, and I think that's like a back porch, maybe? I don't know. Anyways, once we got to the cottage, things got really interesting. I spent a lot of time just staring at the reference photo, trying to process what I was seeing.
Are those royal purple and periwinkle blue shadows? And is that green on the roof?
Apparently, so we're going with it. And so I started in just throwing down some colors and seeing what worked. I've heard Marco Bucci refer to this as color vibration because it literally looks like the colors are kind of vibrating on the page. They're not really what you'd expect, but they still work really well together. There's also some really interesting light fall off on the roof where the deep purple fades into like a raspberry red and then into the brown in the light. Little things like that maybe don't exactly look like that in real life, but they really make a painting pop. After that, it was pretty much just rendering out the scene, painting the water wheel and the trees, and calling it finished. So doing this little cottage theme reminded me of a funny and semi-traumatic childhood vacation story. We were staying in this little cabin cottage thingy when I was about, probably 5. My parents were turned around cooking some breakfast while I was chowing down with my sister on some bacon. Now God gave us teeth for a reason, right? So we could take manageable bites of food. Well, I decided it would be fun to try to just shove the entire piece of bacon into my itty-bitty mouth. I'm sure you can imagine where this is going. All of a sudden, I just stopped breathing. My sister thinks I'm throwing up and just books it up the stairs to our room. All the while, my parents are turned around, oblivious to the chaos that is ensuing behind them. I finally get my mom's attention, she finger sweeps my throat, and I realize that I've just had a near-death experience. One of those moments that instilled in my baby brain that breathing, it's a wonderful thing, and I like doing it. Needless to say, I chew my food now and take smaller bites. In case you were wondering if I've always been an idiot or if that's just a recent development, no, that's always been a thing for me. So anyways, I think I'm going to be taking the scene studies a little bit slower over the next few weeks. I'm working on some commissions and a baby shower gift. Also, a very exciting collaboration that I am very, very excited to share with you guys soon. Also, we hit 10K on Instagram last weekend, so let me know down in the comments if you have any fun, celebratory things we should do for that. I'm thinking maybe a draw this in your style challenge. I've never done one of those, so I don't know, we'll see. I just purchased a new standing desk, monitor, and keyboard to be able to do all of my art and YouTube stuff in one space. I'm so excited for this new setup, probably gonna make a video about it because I'm a little pumped. Hopefully this will also help straighten out my back a bit since I sit like a literal shrimp. So, might have also bought a couple more Studio Ghibli movies as well.
I'm calling it research, okay?
Gotta learn those gouache background techniques. See, this is my problem. All of the profit that I make from my art goes right back into it by buying art supplies or new books and whatnot, but it's fine. Anyways, I'm going to be doing another art arena towards the beginning of August, so be on the lookout for that. During Art Arena, you get to vote between 2 of my illustrations to battle it out to be turned into an art print. I haven't decided which prints to enter into the Art Arena yet, so if you have a favorite that you want to see printed at a larger size, let me know down in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed watching me paint some more Disney cottages. These scenes were a ton of fun to paint, and honestly, I'm kind of enjoying this little foray into architecture art. If you're interested in seeing more of my art and helping to support my creative journey, check out the links below to my Patreon and Etsy shop. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on my weekly uploads. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next week. Bye guys!